All right.
We're live. No intro video.
Good. I think we are live or we're not live. So I was trying to load that. And it looks like some slow bandwidth. That's not working for me
Very
real well. So
laggy.
yeah.
You sound
So
like robot.
something of the bad. I don't know what happened. But I did verify that we are live. So welcome to the 37th episode of MJ and Kate Live. We're here every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Ready or not. Here we are. We do the show live video. We stream it out to my Facebook page, Kate's Facebook page. We stream it out to my Twitter accounts, my LinkedIn accounts. It also goes to Twitch. And we typically have one viewer who is always watching us on Twitch that's from some other country. But if you are watching today, you can feel free to go ahead and put down in the comments where you're watching from, and we will shout you out and talk to you. So this morning, we are going to be talking about cooperating real estate agents. And so I thought, why not bring an agent on that we could talk about? What is cooperating real estate agents? And so today we have with us Ryan Pritchard, who is with Keller Williams Realty Rivertown, and he is in the process of starting his own brokerage. Am I saying that right, Ryan?
So I have my own team and my associate broker's license, but I am staying with Keller Williams franchise.
Brokerage.
So,
okay. All right. But
yep.
You're setting up your own team. So more than just a motto, Ryan loves to help his neighbors and his friends and find their dream home by loving and communicating with him. So not sure what the binging is, but that's not me.
Hey, full-time real estate, right? Full-time real estate means you're out in the field. You have appointments. I am working from truck Wi-Fi today, so
truck Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So it's been a fun, exciting life and career where we are today. So it's I'm married to a beautiful bride, Brittany. So, and we have one child, so Garrett, and he just started school this year. So 3 years old and really exciting there. So I'm pretty passionate about the Cincinnati Reds, and I love to sing in our church. I do sing every Sunday with our church. So those are some of my absolute passions, and just being there for my family. But yeah, absolutely a career-minded entrepreneur, and I love building businesses. I love just my true why in life is how do I maximize myself, but at the same time, when people encounter me, how do we see them become maximized as well? I just truly believe in finding that as my value piece, is like for no other benefit than seeing you succeed on your own and what you love to do. Can we come together in a relationship and see that value? And that's, one of the reasons I was like, heck yeah, I'll get on this podcast. That's fun.
So how explain to the people who may not know how you and I know each other.
Yeah, so you and I came into a relationship through our association, so Greater Regional Alliance of Realtors, GRAR. They have a leadership academy it's called GRARLA, so it's just GRAR Leadership Academy, right? So funny how acronyms work like that. So my program ended up being a 2-year program through the shutdown, and when COVID hit us, and then that second round, you and I got to meet. So, we truly believe in becoming better professionals, and one of those ways is just to learn leadership skills, but also it's those connections that you make that are like this. So that way, when you are cooperating with others on a purchase side and a conversation, that you can, have a mutual respect and understanding of how the other person will perform too.
Great. And so, one of the questions might come up if somebody is looking at this going, Michael J is a realtor. Kate's an insurance person. Why do we bring on another realtor?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where we kind of come into the spot of what we call cooperating realtors or cooperating agents or cooperating brokerages. Okay.
Yeah.
And so every time that there's a home transaction involving realtors, and realtor is sometimes used as a generic term, but there is actual realtor with a registered trademark. So that would be me and
Same.
Ryan as well. And so the differentiating between the two is that we pay money and we can say that we are realtors. In addition to a lot of other things that go on behind the
I was
scenes,
just gonna say,
right?
I think there's a lot more that comes about with that trademark term. I could
Yeah,
say. Don't sell
yeah. So there's a
yourself
lot more.
short there.
There's a lot more that goes on about that. But one of the things is that no matter whenever you're in a home transaction, you're always going to have like a pancake, two sides, right? So you have a realtor that's representing the buyer and a realtor who's representing the seller. And so both sides of the pancake can look totally different depending on how you cook it up. You can have it light on one side or dark on the other, or totally burnt. So that's where the cooperation comes into effect, is sort of like at what point do we flip that pancake so that we can make that transaction go together. And so we cooperate with each other in order to make the deal, but our primary what we're bound to is our client's relationship. So if I'm representing a buyer, then that's what I'm bound to. I'm bound to represent that buyer to the best of my ability, to get them the house that they want to, with the desired things that they need, in order to complete that transaction at the best possible price. And so then you have the cooperating realtor on the other side who's representing the seller, and he has the same objectives. His goal is to represent his selling client as best as possible, to get his client the best possible price for that, and with the least amount of caveats, I guess, in the transaction. So the cleaner that we can make the deal for both the buyer and the seller, that's really what we're getting paid for. We're getting paid for that nitty gritty, to go back and forth with each other and try to make the best thing for our clients. Did I describe that well?
I love it, right? We're working on the same timeline. Yours is the buyer side, I'm on the seller side, but we still have the same objectives, right? It's how do we make this as smooth as possible for our clients, make sure that there's as few hiccups as possible. We're still going to have contingencies in this purchase agreement. So mine is, looking on the seller's behalf, yours the buyer half, or vice versa. But at the same time, we want that to happen smoothly. We don't want to have confrontations, but we still have contracts and dates and other things to abide by. So
And we work, like we said, we work for the contract that we've signed with either the buyer or the seller. And so even though Ryan and I know each other and we could say, hey, we're buddies, at the end of the day, I'm still working for my client. So
mhm.
so I have to either share or not share information depending on what's going to move the transaction in the best position that's possible. So
Yes.
So this is where the outside non-realtor comes in and says, so you have the buyer's agent and you have a seller agent. So if the two of you are working on a deal together, yeah, typically. So if you and Ryan are working on a deal together, what is the for you to work out as, take the price out of it, right? Like you've already agreed on. What are you two doing behind the scenes to cooperate?
So that's one of the great things that that I've integrated into my standard operating procedure is that when I have a client that asks to see a home, I immediately contact the realtor that is the listing agent for that home, the one who's selling that home. And I send them a text and I said, hey, I scheduled an appointment to visit your house that you have listed at XYZ Main Street. And other than price, just like you asked, Kate, is there something that's important to your buyers? Or to your sellers that I should know about before I bring my seller over to take a look at the property. And so that gives me some information ahead of time before going in. And it also gives the selling agent, who may not have met me before, when there's 4,000 realtors in the metro area of Grand Rapids, an opportunity to see my name and my face, and know that, hey, I'm going to show that property. And then if I come back to that realtor, then they know that they've sort of been introduced to me, so they're not surprised when I come and say, hey, I want a deal, or whatever, that sort of thing. So that's one of the things that I do when I start a transaction, that's something outside the scope, right, of the information, as well as when the client comes to me and says, I want to go look at XYZ property. Not only am I going to go ahead and schedule that time that's best for them, I'm also going to do some research, like what else is selling in that neighborhood. What are the taxes? How much are they paying for water? The houses that sold in the last 6, 12 months, because those prices are going to be different in that neighborhood. So we have a lot of information before we even unlock the door or meet the client there. So on the buy side, and not that I'm a buyer's agent, we're kind of doing that in this example, but we'll go to Ryan. What's your expectations if you listed a property? In relation to Kate's question, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the cooperation side of it is you've been hired to either buy or sell a property, right? And the intricacies that are in between there are going to be unique but similar in every single transaction. We know what hiccups we should expect in a purchase or sale agreement, and we're going to be working on those things. So if, with an inspection, we try as best as we can to disclose anything that we can on a seller's disclosure to the best of our ability. That doesn't mean that's not something that the seller didn't know that could happen, right? So when an inspection is done of the property, will it be a well and septic system? Maybe there's something wrong with the drain field. Maybe there's something wrong with the water supply, but they didn't know. Maybe there's moisture in the attic, but they didn't know, because who goes regularly up into their attic? Not many people. There are things that may come up that are unknown. And a lot of times you're hired as an agent because of those negotiations. I don't want to over disclose like where I need to net my value or those other things, like financially. Like some people just don't like that confrontation. I look at it as an opportunity, like, to best represent my client. So how do we handle those negotiations? Like, that's what I always tell people if they're trying to hire me or my team. It's like, this is one of the things that brings me the utmost passion, is because you don't have to come with, a metal baseball bat into negotiations. It's not a stone wall. It is literally what we are doing right now. It's a conversation. Sometimes it's like, how much information can I get out of this conversation that will provide me leverage in a conversation, but also be a win-win? And how do I present that information when there is a negotiation that comes up? So that's where the cooperation is. How are we going over every single hurdle, opportunity in a contract, but also representing the client to the best of my ability to make sure that they still net the highest value for their home without giving away the farm?
Does that answer your question, or did we do that?
It does, yeah. It absolutely certainly does. So if I am interviewing real estate agents to say what are questions that I should ask you and Michael J to help me determine the best.
Was that the best agent to work with?
The best agent to work with, or the best price?
The best agent to work. Like, what are the questions I would want to ask as of how do you determine who you should work with?
Yeah, well, Ryan, how should you determine who you work with?
No, and that's we expect that conversation in every single presentation that we have. I would be lying to you if I told you I win every single presentation that I present, because some people don't value the same presentation, and I modify, what I can offer based on what someone's needs are. So, often you can do things you have 3 options and you can only choose 2. You can do good, fast, or cheap, but you can't have all 3, right? Mm-hmm. So depending on what their needs are, you pair those 2, and then you modify your presentation of value of how you can get something done. But then I also like to say, who are you interviewing? Why did you choose them? Can we evaluate track record too? Like how are they selling houses? Are they selling at 101, 102% of their list price, or are they performing at a 95% of their list price, right? Let's actually check the track record of how the other agent's performing. Do they have a record of performance? What's their office's record of performance? And those things should be provided. That should be transparent. Like when I go in, I update my numbers, I bring it with me in my presentation, and I show that to them. And if they're okay with sharing with me who else they are meeting with, I will, to the best of my ability, try to evaluate and say, based on who you're interviewing, who do you think you have more value with?
I think everybody wants to work with somebody who they know, like, and trust, right? They know, like, and
Also true.
trust. And so especially here in West Michigan, and like I mentioned earlier, you have over 4,000 realtors to choose from. So it comes down really to who do you know, like, and trust. And so a lot of times, everybody knows at least two real estate agents, right? When I think about people who are selling, I don't have to be in everybody's database. I just need to be in the next person's database that's got to be working with me. So, and then there are always, I think the bottom line for the seller is really like, how much money am I going to make on this transaction? When there's so much more involved in that, and a lot of what real estate agents bring value to is, we can provide the most comprehensive price for your home. So the house is only going to sell for what the market is willing to pay for your home. And so we've seen shifts in the market over the last several months. Today's market is totally different than this time last year. And so
Yes.
those are the things that you're paying for, is what does that agent know? Have they sold stuff? And what is included in the price that you're getting for. And for sellers, a lot of that is photos. The photos are paid for out of the money that the office is getting from the sale, but we're fronting that money. We're fronting all the photos. We're fronting all the advertising. We're fronting any other expenses that go along with setting that house up for sale. And so a great example of what I've seen recently is a home in the neighborhood being sold by a different agent, which is okay. But because of the representation that they got with that particular agent, they went in their house and they staged it appropriately. They cleaned it, they painted, they fixed up the yard. They did all those recommendations that the agent said to do, and now they have a great property that's showing really well and getting a lot of attraction and a lot of attention. So that's kind of what you're paying for when you choose an agent that's not just going to plop a sign in the yard and hope it sells. So because right now the market has shifted in such a way, and we've seen this in a property that we recently listed, and had a conversation with the seller saying, look, we don't think the market is going to support this price for this property because it's not in excellent condition. And now that buyers can kind of take a beat and step back a little bit and go, no, maybe not that house, or maybe this house, because now they have a few more choices to do that. And so if your house needs fresh new paint through the whole thing, or fresh carpet, something that you might be able to do on your own, depending on the size of the house, from $5,000 to $10,000, and you're not doing that, that could really hurt you. In this particular market, we looked at a house that we had to drop the price almost $60,000 in order to get people to actually say, "Hey, I want to go look at it."
Yeah.
Even though we can provide comparables that said, "Hey, it might be worth that extra 60, but it's not in the condition. It's not in that condition." And so that's where your expertise come in the neighborhood and that sort of thing. So,
And I'm going to add 2 cents to that. Hopefully, it's in a shifting market when interest rates are rising and the Fed wants to do another 3/4 of a hike this month, right? They want to do those things. So we need to be, it's already been a historical year with a 3/4 rate hike and then another, and now they want to do another, right? So this is a historical year that we're in. So when those things are happening, how are we presenting that from a buyer's demand standpoint, working with the seller? What are buyers expecting? They're expecting it's going to become more expensive to buy in the next few months. So how is our pricing strategy going to work towards the buyer to want to even come look at your house? How many showings are we averaging now versus last year? Similar house might have had 30 showings last year. I just told a client the other day, like, expect 12 showings. Like, it's like you're at less than half. Like, showing time is saying for this area, we're averaging 9 showings for your area, right? So that's data I can look into and set the expectation. It's what your expectation is, how things were previously performing. I mean, that's not our current, that's value in itself. That's almost a free knowledge share. And then what are you doing with that strategy? That's the reason you're hiring a realtor. It's definitely more than putting a for sale by owner sign out front and just saying it's the best dang market we've ever had, right? Well, maybe it's not, because if you start $30,000 over price, the average for sale by owner might even, I think don't directly quote me for this, but I'm pretty sure that they sell at like 82% of what their actual value is. So like, I mean, in itself, it's like, oh, I want to save 3% on my commission by putting a sign out front. Well, actually you just cost yourself, potentially double figures of what you would have actually made by hiring a professional. So it's then having that strategy from the seller side. Okay, how do we make this a deal for our buyer or for our sellers and buyers to say, hey, I still want to go see that house because that's underpriced for that market. We can still get multiple offers. It's just, how do we anticipate to bring that strategy for our sellers? And then they have to be willing, because ultimately at the end of the day, and as I wrap up this segment myself, it's your house. You get to determine what we will do. I'm an advisor. I'm not going to tell you what to do. All I'm going to do is provide consultation.
You're a smart dude, by the way.
Question answered. Yeah. You guys are great.
So let me jump in here and kind of switch the conversation just a little bit. But I did want to talk about you starting your own team within Keller Williams, and kind of like why you're our real estate agent, and how you got to that process where you switched to team. And so before that, I'm going to say I want to hear your why, I guess, why you decided to do that and why you decided to do that. And I think one of the things that always is in the back of my mind is, what's my why? And my why is that from age 5 until age 11, we lived in Southern Utah, and we moved 9 different times in a 10-year period. So I lived in 9 homes growing up, and we were not a homeowner, and so we were chasing the cheapest rent every year each time the lease was up. And so that's kind of what we did. And so when I had kids, I was like, I don't really want this for my kids to have this sort of thing. And so my why was to work really hard to get a home and to stay in a home. And so fortunately, my kids have only, they're now 13, my oldest, and she's lived in 3 homes. So that's much better than 9.
Yeah.
And partly the reason she's lived in 3 homes is due to the fact that we move for jobs, so sometimes you can't help that sort of thing, but that's kind of like my why on the back of my mind. I don't want a child to go through all those sort of transitions if it's at all possible to help them with that. And so when I look at people, I just have compassion for them moving from one stage of life to the other. So Ryan, I'll recap that question that was like, kind of like, what is your why, and how did you kind of start your own team within your brokerage, and where do you kind of see that transitioning? So
I didn't know how to identify it early on in my career, early on in growing as an adult, and as a husband and father and a guy. So for me, in 2011, going into the professional field, I started to learn a lot about myself. And as that continued to grow and understand myself, I found that I really like seeing other people succeed. And with wanting to see other people succeed, I knew quite often I had to learn things first myself. It took me a while to professionally develop and learn a lot of leadership skills. What I found that I loved absolutely the most was when I was a branch manager for a local credit union. And when I was operating in that role, still doing some production, but at the same time doing a lot of leadership, leading a multi-million-dollar, financial institution and branch, leading that, the financials and all of those things, I got to operate as a true entrepreneur in that. And then I got elevated to another position to lead a department on culture. And I lost a lot of that ability to operate inside of a lot of creativity, work on a lot of projects and a lot of energy. But at the same time, I was doing real estate. So I'll tie it back to what I was saying earlier. I find a lot of value in seeing things being maximized. If I were to go be an employee somewhere again, or work for someone, or not be in my own business, I would need a lot of flexibility to say, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to improve it, and I need a lot of freedom. That's me. I like to build things. Real estate, there's a lot of building. I'm a high achievement person. I like to get things done real quickly. A 30, 40, 60-day contract, that's something I can get done quickly inside a certain, that fills my love bucket over and over and over and over again. But now, having done real estate sales for 6 years, transitioning into the team, I want to lead other people in that. I don't need those productions to do that. My greatest joy today is seeing someone else have that achievement and being able to provide that opportunity. The achievement still happens within that time frame, but I'm able to provide the opportunity for someone else to have a great life, right? And meet their objectives. That's why I wanted to have a team, because we're leading to the point where we set a goal to do 30 million in real estate sales next year. So I want to provide an opportunity for 3 agents to close 10 million in real estate sales. I'm still getting an immense benefit because there's commission splits there that benefit me and my business. But at the same time, there were leadership opportunities inside Keller Williams, and I wanted to pursue continuing growing myself. And Keller Williams has one of the best franchises for you to continue to grow as a real estate professional. I can either grow, hopefully start a brokerage in the future, or, buy into another brokerage. Or if I find that that's not what I want, I can continue growing as a leader and potentially continue to grow my own team to 40, 50 million and continue to train other agents if that's where I continue to find all of my passion. I don't think it's appropriate to say the person that Ryan is today will be the same Ryan next year because of what we will be learning in that time frame. So I don't ever pigeon myself down one hole to say that's what I will be for forever, because I'm not the same person that I was back in 2011. I know a lot of things. So it's not like any other time in history where, I was a shoemaker and I was a shoemaker my whole entire life. I might be working in the real estate industry and doing those things because the real estate industry has so many different avenues. Like, we started doing land development this year. We have our own development of 7 residential lots and 7 residential houses. I'm looking to hopefully close on a large investment property for 26 units. I'm just waiting on final clear to close for that, building the real estate team and just continuing to grow. So there's so many opportunities to make income and create things and maximize. That's why I do what I do today. It's because I love seeing things be achieved and I love seeing other people be able to succeed. And if I get to have a little part in that, whether or not anyone ever knows it, I still feel great about it.
Didn't I tell you he was smart?
Yes, you did.
And he's humble too. So that's great. We talked a little bit about here in the last couple of minutes. We talked a little bit about a shifting market and how things are really selling differently. If you are a seller, your home needs to be ready to sell. You need to be prepared because buyers are not looking, especially since houses are more expensive. They have less money to overlook things and come in and with their own cash to say, we'll just fix it after the close. They want those things done before. So in order for you to get the higher price that you're looking for, we're seeing that really shift in the market. And if you have any last minute comments that you would like to make about the shifting market, Brian, please do so. And then we're going to give it over to Kate to close us out with any final questions.
No, I really loved everything we said today. So you take it over, Kate.
Well, that's awesome. Let's talk more than a sentence and start coughing. Thanks, Michael J. Like your big practical joke. But Brian, it was awesome. Lots of great information from both you and Michael J. In the insurance industry, we see all the things going on in the real estate industry. Get to the closing table with their insurance needs. So it's been interesting these last month and a half or so, seeing how many lenders are coming to you going, you got to take dollars to give because of things like the interest rates going up and things like that. And really does take many pieces to close a deal and close it well. Real estate agents on each side of the ball, making sure that it's getting done properly. Time in the long run. So it was a pleasure to meet you, and it sounds like
too.
You take care of your clients just as good stuff today.
Good
So
stuff.
we'll make sure you get her contact information, Ryan, at the end. So I'll put a selfless plug for Kate, who can give any of your clients an opportunity to show them insurance, because we all know we need to bring that insurance to the closing table. And so you may have somebody you work with, but maybe this is an opportunity for you guys to go have coffee. So
There we go.
And Kate's office is like in town or downtown. So because we both live in Rockford, but she's at least down there. So thank you so much, Ryan, for saying yes, you would come. And so cooperating real estate agents, we do talk to each other from time to time. And we can work well together for the most part. So so that's our 37th episode of MJ and Kate. We'll be back again next Tuesday. We'll be back live at 9 a.m. And we're going to be talking all about our prize. So everything that's going on, and I might even be on location. So
yes, hopefully find a great spot.
And Kate won't snuff. Won't I was gonna say snot. Won't sneeze all over. Send cough next week. So that's awesome. So I know that he was running off to an appointment. So we'll catch up with him later. So next week, our prize. You good with that?
Woohoo. Good with that.
All
Time to
right.